Okay, let's start with the prayer. Should I press it again? Om Gananam Tva Ganapatim Havamahe Kavim Kavinam Upamashravastavam Yeshwarajam Brahmanam Brahmanasvatavana Shrunvanmukti Rasadanam Om Sri Mahaganadipataye Namah Om Rishabham Charshaninam Vishwarupamadavyam Brahaspatim Varenyam Om Tadvishno Paramam Padam Sada Pashyanti Suraya Divi Vachakshuratatam. Say Hare Ram Krishna after me. Om Hare Rama Krishna Hare Rama Krishna Hare Rama Krishna. Okay. We saw the chart of Swami Jayendra Saraswati in the last class. And what we said in the last class is, even though it may appear like he is pursuing material benefits or he is pursuing some power, authority, etc., that is the image that was projected in some sections of the media immediately after this controversy broke out, immediately after he was arrested. Some people tried to say that, for example, when he at the anniversary of his ascension, there was a big celebration, and they were showering him with golden whiskers. So all these things were played in the media as if he was some kind of power-hungry person who is not really a sadhu. But we saw the chart, and we saw that looking at the 3rd and 6th from Arudha Lagna, the influences on those, the planets there, and the planets aspecting those, we concluded that he was a genuine sadhu. And we saw that Shani and Chandra being together, Shani and Moon being together, and Moon being in an Navamsha of Mars, that is a yoga. If you look at strengths and other strengths, there is a yoga section here. You can see that there is a yoga called, there is a yoga called Paribraja Yoga, which makes somebody an ascetic. If Moon is in an Navamsha of Mars, and if he is associated, if he is together with Saturn or aspected by Saturn in the Rashi chart, that is a yoga called Paribraja Yoga, or some people call it Savradya Yoga. That yoga makes one a renunciate. Lot of people are spiritual, lot of people are very saintly, lot of people are very gentle natured, but not everybody can renounce the material benefits. And for somebody to genuinely renounce, one needs some kind of Paribraja Yoga in the chart. Without that Paribraja Yoga, one cannot be a genuine sannyasi. Even if one becomes a sannyasi, he will just be a sannyasi for the world, not a real sannyasi. For somebody to be a real sannyasi, who does not really want anything, who can genuinely give up all desires, there has to be a Paribraja Yoga. And we do see that there is a Paribraja Yoga in this particular chart. So he is a genuine sannyasi, but at the same time, the Saturn who is giving Paribraja Yoga, he is also giving a Raja Yoga. Look at Saturn. He is Lagna Lord, Saturn. He is in the 12th from Arudha Lagna. And I said earlier that for Saturn and Rahu, being in the 12th from Arudha Lagna is a Raja Yoga. For Mercury and Jupiter, being in the 2nd from Arudha Lagna is a Raja Yoga. But for Saturn and Rahu, being in the 12th from Arudha Lagna is a Raja Yoga. So even in that sannyasa, he will be perceived as somebody very powerful, very influential, somebody with a lot of authority. So that because of that Saturn being in the 12th from Arudha Lagna, he is not seen as somebody who has renounced. Saturn stands for renunciation. Saturn stands for working hard without any attachment. And if the Saturn is in Arudha Lagna, let us say somebody has Saturn in Arudha Lagna, that would make him look like a renunciate. If that may be bad in a chart of somebody like us, somebody who is not a sannyasi, somebody who is, let's say a politician has that in his chart. It's not really good for him. But for a sannyasi, to have Saturn in the Arudha Lagna will be great, because he is not only a sannyasi, but he is seen to be a sannyasi. On the other hand, here, Unfortunately, you will see Saturn in the 12th from Arudha Lagna. So what that means is, he will be seen as somebody who is rejecting sannyasa. So some people will have, unfortunately, because of this Arudha Lagna Saturn relationship, some people will have the image that he is a sannyasi, but he is not really a sannyasi. They will think that he is giving up the sense of giving up. That means he is not genuinely giving up. He does want power, he does want political connection. That is the image in the minds of some people, unfortunately. And that comes from Saturn being in the Lagna Lord Saturn being in the 12th from Arudha Lagna. Had the same Saturn been in Arudha Lagna, people would not have had that image at all. People would have thought, oh, he's a great renunciate. That's what people would have thought. Even now, a lot of people would think that way. But there are people who genuinely believe that he's not a genuine sannyasi. He's a fake sannyasi. That is the unfortunate point because of Arudha Lagna being in 5. Now, to see the truth, Arudha Lagna does not really matter. The truth is from Lagna. And the very fact that Moon and Saturn are together, that too in Aquarius, the sign involved is a sign of Saturn. It's not a sign of Venus, for example, or sign of Mars. Then the yoga would have been much weaker. Saturn and Moon are conjoined in a sign of Shani, and Moon is in Mars and Navamsa. So the Parivraj Yoga is very complete. It's of the highest order. So definitely he is a genuine sannyasi. There is no doubt about it. And we saw a few different dashas, and we saw that if you see Vimshottari Dasha, we said that you see Vimshottari Dasha from Lagna. If you see Vimshottari Dasha from Lagna, we saw that he is running. Which Antardasha? He is not right now running, but he was running Shani Rahu Antardasha. And Shani and Rahu have a Papakatri on Lagna. This is the only negative thing that we find in this particular chart. Shani and Rahu having a Papakatri on Lagna, two male phase. And we said that Lagna Vimshottari shows your actions. Chandra Vimshottari shows how you feel, what's happening to you. Moon is mind. But Lagna is how you apply your intelligence, how you act in the society. So we said that during Shani Rahu Antardasha, during the last 2 or 3 years, it is possible that he was under bad influence. It is possible that, in other words, what I said in the last class is, the allegations that were levelled against him, they are not correct, but at the same time they are not completely false. There will be some small grain of truth. Somebody around him cheating him, or somebody around him engaging in some illegal things is definitely possible. In other words, he may have allowed some wrong people to come near him and influence some of the things that he is doing. That is what I honestly felt, looking at Shani Rahu Antardasha and Shani Rahu having Papakatri on Lagna. He was under some negative influence. There was a lapse of judgment which allowed him to let some Shanis and Rahus basically come and influence in the last 2 years. But definitely this person is not a criminal. Definitely this person does not have the instincts needed for murdering somebody or ordering somebody's murder. Definitely those allegations are false. There was some mistake that was made, small mistake that was made by people close to him, people that he allowed inside the mud, and that was the Jayalalitha government basically exploited that and then built upon it and then made that into a big case. Now it will be interesting, and Seshugaru, you can look at I'll upload the audio today, so you can listen to whatever else we discussed about his chart. But let us see Jayalalitha's chart. It will be interesting to see with the Jayalalitha's chart.
What is the time?
Yeah, I'll give you. The time is, the date is February 24, 1948, 2:36:20 p.m. 2 hours 36 minutes 20 seconds. Indian Standard Time. The time zone, the place is 80 East 18, 13 North 5. I'm not sure if it's accurate. 80 East 18, 13 North 5. That may not be accurate, but basically Lagna was rectified, so the inaccuracy in the longitude and latitude was compensated by the rectification of the Lagna. Okay, so if you see her chart, if you look at all the news coverage, Jayalalitha says that The public prosecutor of Tamil Nadu says he is the most undeserving criminal, and Jayalalitha says, I am just following my duty, I am just doing my dharma. Now, if you don't get swayed by emotions, if you don't get swayed by your prejudices or your preferences, personal preferences, if you look at it impassionately, there are two possibilities. One is Jayalalitha is wrong. Because of some grudge against him. It could be because, for example, some media coverage says that Kanchi Kamakoti Peetham, they bought a couple of hospitals in Madras which Shashikala, Jayalalitha's girlfriend, close girlfriend, also wanted to buy. So that was the start of the falling apart, and then Jayalalitha was taking revenge for that. She had a grudge. That is one theory that came up. The other theory is, he said she's an arrogant lady, she's an egoistic lady in one interview, and she was mad. And of course, if you look at the chart, we'll see later, but she really is a very arrogant lady. If somebody calls her egoistic, definitely she will not like it, and she can go to any extent to fix that. So, but we will but that is one theory. So one theory is, she just held a grudge against him, and when she saw a small opportunity, she just exploited that opportunity to the fullest and did a huge conspiracy to fix him. That is one possibility. But the other possibility, as astrologers, you should always consider all the possibilities. You should not be biased. The other possibility is, he really did do criminal acts, and she was just following her dharma. She was pained by the fact that she had to imprison somebody she respected, but nevertheless she had to do it because it was her dharma. So that is another possibility. You don't know which is true. And let us see, based on the chart, let us see which is more likely. And before we do that, let us see if the chart basically makes sense. Now let us see the chart.
We see Dashansha correct first to start with?
Yeah, let us see Rashi, Navamsha and Dashansha, each of them. Looking at this Rashi chart of Jayalalitha, what can you say about her? What are the things that you can say? The Lagna is Gemini Lagna, so in general she will be somebody very intelligent, she can understand things very quickly, somebody very quick to understand, good grasping power. And then you have two planets in Kendra. From Gemini Lagna, Jupiter is in the 7th house in Mula Trikona, in his own sign. Venus is in 10th house, another Kendra, in his exaltation sign. If any planet, if one of the 5 planets, Jupiter, Venus, Mars, Saturn and Mercury, if one of these 5 planets is in a Kendra, in either own sign or Mula Trikona or exaltation sign, it is a Mahapurusha Yoga, right? The Mahapurusha Yoga given by Jupiter is called Hamsa Yoga. The Mahapurusha Yoga given by Venus is called Malavya Yoga. The one given by Mercury is called Bhadra Yoga. The one given by Mars is called Ruchaka Yoga. The one given by Shani is called Shasha Yoga. So these are the 5 Mahapurusha Yogas. They produce great people. It doesn't mean honest people or genuine people. These are great people, people who achieve a lot. Now, if you look at her chart, do you see any Mahapurusha Yoga?
Sure.
You actually see 2 Mahapurusha Yoga. Venus and Jupiter, both are in Kendras, one in exaltation sign, one in Mula Trikona. So the rule is, when there are 2 Mahapurusha Yogas, the one where a planet is exalted will dominate over the one where a planet is in Mula Trikona. Exaltation is the most important, then Mula Trikona, as far as Mahapurusha Yogas are concerned. Yes.
In Rama's chart, everything is exalted, right?
We will come to that later. He is more difficult. But if you only have one planet in exaltation, one planet in Mula Trikona, this is how you do it. You look at the exaltation first, and then Mula Trikona, and then one sign. That is the order of importance. And let us say several planets are exalted. Then the order is, planets in Dharma Trikona are most important, because they decide who you are, what your dharma is, what your abilities are, what your nature is. So the yoga given by a planet in Dharma Trikona is most important, and then Artha Trikona, and then Kama Trikona, and then Moksha Trikona. This is the natural order: Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. So this is how, if you see different Mahapurusha Yoga, this is how you decide which Mahapurusha Yoga is dominating in the chart of a particular person. For example, let us take the chart of, let us just deviate a little bit, Take the chart of a great astrologer called K.N. Rao, Narasimha Rao. He is a great Vedic astrologer of the last couple of centuries. We don't necessarily agree with many of his teachings in my parampara, but nevertheless he is a great astrologer who contributed a lot to the astrological community. If you see his chart, there are two Mahapurusha Yogas. Venus in Lagna in Mula Trikona, Jupiter in 10th house in exaltation. There are two Mahapurusha Yogas. Which one will dominate? No. Jupiter is in Artha Trikona, but Venus is in Dharma Trikona. So if you compare the two Mahapurusha Yogas, the one that will dominate in his case is Malavya Yoga. He is not really a Hamsa Mahapurusha Yoga person. He is a Malavya Mahapurusha Yoga. Pardon me?
You said exalted comes first.
Yes, exalted comes first. But actually this is even Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, Ardha is even before that. Even before exaltation, Mula Trikona and both sides. This is actually the number one rule. So, even though he has two Mahapurusha Yogas, it doesn't mean there are no results given of Hamsa Mahapurusha Yoga in his case. There will be some results that will be experienced. But he will be predominantly a Malavya Yoga person rather than a Hamsa Mahapurusha Yoga person. Hamsa Mahapurusha Yoga people are very polite, very courteous, very diplomatic. That is the result given. We usually think that Venus is the planet who makes people diplomatic. But if you see Parashara's writings carefully, that is not correct. Jupiter is the planet who makes people diplomatic. People with a strong Jupiter are nice to everybody. They don't want to hurt anybody. So that is the kind of diplomacy given by Jupiter. Rahu also gives his own diplomacy. So there are two kinds of diplomacy. One given by Jupiter, one given by Rahu. The kind of diplomacy given by Jupiter is, you don't want to hurt anybody. So whatever people want to hear, you just tell them. The Rahu kind of diplomacy is, you are selfish. You want certain things from people. So you say whatever people want to listen to cheat people. So that is the diplomacy given by Rahu. So these are the two diplomacies. If you look at the descriptions given for Malavya Yoga or any description given for Venus anywhere in classical literature, nowhere diplomacy is mentioned. Venus is not a planet of diplomacy. He is always serious. He will go on, do tapasya, do his tapas for thousand years sincerely. He will come back, whatever he feels, he will say on your face. He will not hesitate to say what he feels. That is Venus. Venus is not a diplomat. Somehow, I don't know why, but I have read some modern literature where Venus is painted as a planet of diplomacy. Probably because Venus is also the planet of entertainment. So people mix up diplomacy with entertainment, but they are totally different things. Entertaining people is different from being diplomatic with people. So remember that Hamsa Mahapurusha Yoga people are always very diplomatic. They have a very nice, impeccable behavior. On the other hand, Malavya Yoga people are they can say what they feel like. They don't care about people's emotions. They can be very unemotional, very detached. And if you look at K.N. Rao, he's a great scholar, but he is very to the point. He doesn't beat around the bush. Whatever he feels like, whether people like it or not, he just says it. For example, he came to US once. He met so many astrologers here in US. He went back to India and he wrote a book about his experiences in US, about the astrologers in US. He heard so many people. He cut so many relations with just one book. On the other hand, if you look at Dr. Raman's book, Dr. Raman came to US and he wrote a book, My Experiences in Astrology. Also he wrote a book, Hindu Astrology and West, about his experiences in the West. He was very diplomatic. He didn't hurt anybody. He was very respectful for everybody. But Venus is more judgmental. He's not respectful of everybody. He's very judgmental and he passes judgment. That is Venus. So, true to the nature of his Malavya Yoga, Sri K.N. Rao, he just passed judgments on everybody. He put everybody in perspective, his own perspective. So many people were hurt by the way they were portrayed in his book, and so many people turned his enemy from his friends, just with one book. So if you look at his behavior, you will very clearly see that Malavya Yoga is dominating in his case. And here if you see in Jayalalitha's case, Venus is not only exalted, but he is in Artha Trikona. So Venus will dominate over Jupiter. So she is very clearly a Malavya Mahapurusha Yoga person more than a Hamsa Mahapurusha Yoga person. But still, there will be some results given of Hamsa Mahapurusha Yoga. If you have Jupiter in Sagittarius aspect in your Lagna, there will be some dharma in you. It's not that you are a totally adharmic person. You will be God-fearing. You will be diplomatic with people. You will be respectful. You will respect dharma. You will respect religion. So those qualities will be there in her, but she is mostly a Malavya Mahapurush Yoga person. And if you look at her Navamsa, do you think this Navamsa Lagna is correct? With this Navamsa, will the person get married? Is there marriage for this person? If you see this Navamsa chart. Pardon me? The 7th house shows marriage. Who is in the 7th house? 6th Lord in the 7th house. Is that good for marriage? No. It's not good for marriage. Now, there is one more dictum. If the 7th house has Saturn, be very careful when you apply this particular dictum. Don't rush to judgments. But the dictum says, if Mercury or Saturn associate with either 7th house or Lagna, if they occupy that house or aspect that house strongly, then that person will be homosexual. I don't know about this Telata, but actually it's a possibility based on the chart. Shani is aspecting both Lagna and 7th house, and Mercury is in the 7th house. So there is actually a possibility based on astrology. But when I saw Mercury, I just wanted to share that with you. If you see Mercury or Saturn, those are the Junon planets. If they are in the 7th house, if you see, for example, here there is actually Mars and Jupiter are in Lagna. They are very virile planets. So she can be actually both. With this chart, it can be both, homosexual as well as heterosexual. But if you see only Saturn or Mercury associating with Lagna or 7th house, and if somebody brings that chart to you for matching, be very careful. That person may not be a normal person. There may be some homosexuality in that person. If Lagna and 7th house have Mercury and Saturn.
But
anyway,
is that in the Navamsa or the?
Absolutely. Only Navamsa, not in Rashi. Only Navamsa. Now if you see her Dashamsa, what is her career?
Actually, Mercury, Sun is in 10th house, so looks like she had.
Mercury and who are in the 10th house?
Moon.
Okay. From Lagna, Venus is the 6th Lord, Venus is the 10th Lord, and Moon is in the 10th house. And the 10th Lord Venus is in 6th house. So both 6th house and 10th house have a strong influence of Venus. Two Artha Trikona, 6th and 10th, are strongly connected by Venus. And Moon is in the 10th house. What kind of career would Moon and Venus show? Entertainment, does it make sense? Entertainment. Venus does show entertainment. And now, if you look at Moon can also show a political career. Moon is basically like a queen. Yeah, Moon is the planet of Mars. So Moon in the 10th house can also show politics. And more importantly, look at Sun. He is in the 5th house of power. Sun is the natural significator of power, and he is in the 5th house of power. So looking at this Dashamsa, you can right away you can say that this is some kind of entertainer. Can be an actress or painter or sculptor, but some kind of artist. That is for sure. Definitely this is the chart of an artist. Secondly, there is some chance of politics, some chance of political power. But entertainment or artistic abilities are very clear. The career is in art. That is perfect. That is 100% you can be sure if this chart is correct. Now let us look at the Amsa Lord. Venus and Moon are in Yamamsa. So what can you say based on that? There are
beautiful.
Pardon me?
Beautiful.
Very beautiful. Somebody who just does whatever her director tells her to do, she just follows those directions and does. On the other hand, if you see somebody, let us say with Indra, the 10th Lord, let us say is Venus, but he is in Indramsa, like for example Aishwarya Rai, that person will not be so beautiful. That person will try to dictate some terms. That person may be more difficult to handle. But this person will be very easy to handle. She's an artist and very beautiful artist.
Can you repeat the Aishwarya Rai and this comparison of...
Aishwarya Rai also has Venus as the 10th Lord. We saw her chart long back. If you see the audios, you see it in one of those MP3 files. Aishwarya Rai also has Venus in the 10th house. Sorry, Venus has the 10th Lord. But her Venus is in Indramsa. So she is a very powerful actress, very powerful entertainer. I will come to you. Pardon me?
Why we are getting different answer rules?
Yeah, even I'm getting different Kamsa
We
rulers.
got moon as Marutvan.
Correct.
Oh, okay. You are in D60. You asked the same question earlier. Yeah. Change to D10. Get the menu on that top of menu like this. See.
Yeah.
Select Dashamsha. We are looking at Dashamsha now. Career. Not
The
Shashamsha.
Kamsa, right?
Yeah, you will get the same thing. You are using the same program.
Oh, here.
Unless you have a different
Okay,
Dynamsha.
here. Okay. Okay, now, yeah.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now, look at Sun in the 5th house. Sun in the 5th house shows lot of power. And how that power is achieved. Sun is the planet of power, he is in the house of power. So he shows how power is achieved. What Amsha is Sun in? Niriti Amsha. So can you conclude that this lady can do anything for power? Power is so important for her that she can do Niriti kind of thing. Niriti is a Rakshasi. Niriti shows illegal things or adharmic things. That is what Niriti shows. That is basically the direction corresponding to Rahu. So it can be outlawed. Usually, if a planet is in Niriti Samsa, that planet shows illegal activities, outlawed activities, or adharmic activities. And on the positive side, it can also show breaking barriers, research, breaking barriers, really totally innovative, path-breaking kind of researches. So those are the possibilities given for Niriti. Here, Sun is the 8th Lord. 8th Lord again, 8th house shows, 8th house, one of the things 8th house shows is sins. And that Sun is in Niriti Samsa. So one thing you can say straight away looking at this Dasamsa is, this is a lady. However dharmic she appears, however dharmic she may be, she can be quite adharmic for the purpose of power. Maintaining power or keeping power or getting power. So that is one thing that you can directly say. Now let us see what dasas she is running right now.
Narasimha Rao ji, the Amsa definitions of this Yama, Indra, Agni, are they defined in your book?
No.
So
They are in Brihat Parasar Horasastra.
in that it is defined?
BPHS, yes.
Okay.
It's in one of the recordings in the last 5-6 slides.
Okay, good.
All, each one, what it is? Okay.
It is for the sons.
Okay.
Okay? Now, she is running Rahu Dasha right now. The lady is running Rahu Dasha. How is Rahu Dasha for her career? Can somebody tell me how Rahu Dasha will be for her career?
Last, I think, 12th house.
Yeah.
From
First of all, whose results will Rahu give? Will he give his own results as far as career is concerned? Approach it systematically. Jupiter is with Rahu. Rahu and Jupiter are together. When two planets are conjoined, they give each other's results, right? So Rahu will give Jupiter's results.
And it's in its own house.
And Jupiter, is he well placed there?
Very good.
12th house is bad, but he's in 12th house in his own sign. And that is a nice yoga. So Jupiter, that is, what is the name for that yoga? Vimala yoga. So Jupiter is quite well placed here. So Jupiter Dasha is overall a good Dasha. Sorry, Rahu Dasha is overall a good Dasha because he gives Jupiter's results. But how about this Antardasha? Rahu Jupiter Antardasha. Now Rahu was giving Jupiter's results, and so Jupiter Antardasha will give Rahu's results. So that will be in Jupiter's Dasha, that will be equivalent to Rahu giving his Antardasha results. So now Rahu and Jupiter being together, is it good or bad? Is it causing the fall of Jupiter, or is it making Jupiter stronger?
False.
Jupiter was better off there alone. Had Rahu not been there, Jupiter would have been better off. So the fact that Rahu is with Jupiter is pulling Jupiter down. So during Rahu Dasha, when Jupiter Antardasha comes, you may think that, oh, Jupiter it is good, but actually he acts like Rahu because of the opposite effect. So this Antardasha is a bad Antardasha for her. Did anything bad happen to her during that Antardasha? Do you know?
All the cases were there. But actually she was arrested in the previous Rahu.
Yeah, I don't know about the arrest because I don't know the exact times. If I know the exact times, we can work on it. But during that time, one thing that I know for sure happened is
Lot of cases and all.
Pardon me?
Lot of cases were there.
At that time,
Yeah, she lost election.
yeah, there were cases, but the thing is, she still had in the national elections, she still had a lot of seats in the Lok Sabha, in the parliament. So she was supporting the BJP government, and in 1999 April, she pulled the plug. She withdrew her support to the Vajpayee government, and then she had this great ambition of, actually there was a story that she wanted to become prime minister, and Sonia Gandhi told her that I can make you prime minister if you withdraw support. And finally she did not become prime minister. Sonia Gandhi did not become prime minister. Nobody became prime minister. They could not come up with an alternative government, and the parliament was dissolved. So whatever advantage she had in the parliament was totally gone. And then when the new elections were called, she basically turned a complete loser. This time DMK won, and then when DMK won, she had, I mean, neither in the parliament nor in the assembly, Tamil Nadu assembly, she was in majority. So she just basically destroyed whatever good fortune that she was given during the previous Antardasya. She just ended up destroying it. That is because of the Kurjandala Yoga, the Rahu, Jupiter being together, the destruction caused by that conjunction, that worked in the Jupiter Antardasya. So this was a terrible Antardasya. How will be Saturn Antardasya? Do you think Saturn Antardasya is a good Antardasya?
Yeah.
Is it good or bad?
I think it will be good. Lagna
He is Lagna Lord, and if he is placed in a bad house, Lagna Lord, wherever he is placed, he will work for Lagna, promoting Lagna. Here he is placed in the 11th house of gains.
But it's
Retrograde.
retrograde.
So what?
That's okay.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. If he is retrograde, that means a lot of effort is needed. But as for Saturn himself, he is well placed. As a matter of fact, I believe that Ghatika Lagna in this particular Dashansha is accurate, so I am using it in my analysis. He is a Yogada. I told you earlier that a planet who occupies or owns or aspects Lagna and Ghatika Lagna becomes a Yogada for power matters. Similarly, a planet who has influence on both Lagna and Hora Lagna, he becomes a Yogada for money matters. And here, if you look at Shani, see what houses he owns, aspects. So Saturn aspects Lagna as well as Ghatika Lagna, and he is the owner of Lagna too. So he is clearly connecting Ghatika with Lagna. So he is one of the Yogadas. The other Yogada is Mars. Yes.
Not to see Sri Lagna, I don't know if it's a diversion or
So Ghatika Lagna is the important thing for power. So first of all he is a Yogada, second of all he is Lagna Lord, third of all he is in the 11th house of gains. So definitely that Antardasya will pull him up again.
You look at the Yoga for D10, right?
Yeah.
Can you just give the date and time? I think we have
Slightly different time.
Slight difference here.
So okay, you have Sagittarius Lagna in Dashamsha.
Yeah.
You have Sagittarius in Dashamsha, right? That is the time given in Sanjay Ji's book, but I disagree with him. This is my rectification. We had a big argument. Finally, neither of us could convince the other one. The time I use is 2:36:20 p.m. and he uses 2:34 p.m. That is what somebody gave him. Somebody gave him Jayalalitha's chart, and the time they gave is 2:34.
Location is basically in Madras, I guess, right?
Yeah.
But she was born somewhere in Mysore.
She was born in Mysore, right?
Yeah.
That's what I believe. That's why I was saying longitude and latitude are incorrect.
Okay.
So the rectification that we have done to the Lagna, that basically compensates for it. Basically, if the place changes, I believe she was born in Karnataka, not in Madras. This chart was given for Madras in his book, so I used that. But if you use Bangalore, if you use Mysore or whatever the place is, then correspondingly you change the time also. Bottom line is, I believe that her Dashamsha Lagna is Makara and her Ghatika Lagna in Dashamsha is Meshta. That is what I strongly believe in. But Sanjay Ji had some reasons to think that she has Sagittarius Lagna in Dashamsha. But with that I can't explain her entertainment career and all the timing of various events that happened in her life. And I strongly believe that Makara is the correct Lagna in her Dashamsha, not Dhanus.
Is she married?
Pardon me?
No, she's not married.
She's not married, but she she had a close relationship with the N.G. Ramachandran, and she has a girlfriend called Chechkala. She's not married.
One quick question. Why do you call Shani as Yogada in this chart?
Yes. The definition of Yogada is any planet who connects Lagna with Ghatika Lagna becomes a Yogada. So, if a planet owns or occupies or aspects by Rasi aspect, these two things, Lagna and Ghatika Lagna, he becomes a Yogada. And here Shani aspects Lagna by Rasi Drishti as well as Graha Drishti, and he owns Lagna, and he has Rasi Drishti on Ghatika Lagna. So he is the one who brings those together. He connects Lagna with Ghatika Lagna. Lagna is your existence, Ghatika Lagna is the power, the potential power that you can enjoy. He connects both of them. He brings that potential power to your actual existence. So he is the one who gives power. So during Shani Antardasha, yes.
It seems like all of us are having Ghatika Lagna spices.
Maybe sunrise and
That is another difference. The Ghatika Lagna is defined based on the sunrise time, the number of minutes elapsed since sunrise.
So you are taking...
And for sunrise, the definition I use, unless somebody changed. Okay, sorry. Somebody changed it. Yeah, now I also got it in Pisces. So time has to be adjusted a little bit. But I believe her Ghatika Lagna is Mesha.
So will that change the Yogada now?
Yeah, if Ghatika Lagna was Pisces, then Saturn would not be Yogada. But I have worked with her chart in the past, and I strongly believe that her Ghatika Lagna is Mesha, based on all the times when she got power.
There's a preference there.
Yes. Here.
Okay, whatever time is required basically. I believe that her Ghatika Lagna basically moves 5 times as fast as Lagna. So every 2 minutes it will change in the Shamsa. So you can basically, you can find when Ghatika Lagna will be in Mesha. But now, Shani is not only Yogada, but he is Lagna Lord in the 11th house. He will definitely give gain. And to see in a particular Dasha, what is the focus of a particular Antardasha, where the Bhoga is, what is the rule that I have given earlier? Does anybody remember? How do you see? See, Saturn is a good planet, but will all Saturn Antardashas bring her power? Will all Saturn Antardashas be good in career? Maybe some will be not so good, some will be particularly good. How do you see it from the Dasha? What is the link between Dasha and Antardasha? I gave you a rule in the past. The rule is, from the Dasha Lord, count signs up to Antardasha Lord. Count the same number of signs from Antardasha Lord. That is the Bhoga. That is what is experienced in that Antardasha. Right? We saw a few examples in the past. If you do that, in Rahu Dasha, this is the Mahadasha Lord, and this is the Antardasha Lord. Where is Antardasha Lord from the Dasha Lord? 12. Now, count the 12 from Antardasha Lord. That is the Bhoga. The Bhoga is in Moon. The Bhoga is basically associated with the benefic planet, with the planet of masses. And more importantly, see which house it is.
10th.
Which house is it?
10th house.
10th house. So basically 10th house is the house of kingdom. That is also called the Rajasthana, the house of crown basically. So that is a good house. On the other hand, had the Bhoga been in the 8th house, then you should be suspicious. Even though it is a good Antardasha, maybe it's not good enough to make her the chief minister again. You can't be so confident. On the other hand, if you see the Bhoga falling in the Lagna itself, or the 9th house, or the 5th house, or the 10th house, you can be confident that not only is Saturn a Yogada and a good planet, but she will experience very good results during that Antardasha.
But here it is the 12th from itself, or are you seeing it as the 10th from the D?
When you see the Bhoga, you see which house Bhoga falls in from Lagna. You find the Bhoga, Dasha Lord to Antardasha Lord to the same distance, fine, that is Bhoga, that is what is experienced. And then see which house it is from Lagna. So that is what will be experienced during that Antardasha. And this Saturn, where is Saturn? Saturn is in 11th house from Lagna. That is called Paka. The sign where the Antardasha Lord itself is, that is Paka. That is what you are cooking. That is where you are putting your effort. That is where you are applying your intelligence. But What you are actually experiencing after cooking, you get something to eat and you eat it, you experience it. That experience thing is bhoga. That is the sign that you find using the rule that I mentioned. Okay? So if you see, for example, the Antardasha running right now is Mercury. Mercury Antardasha is running right now. Now, what is the bhoga in Mercury Antardasha?
1, 2, 3. 3 from Rahu, right?
Yeah? Yeah, right.
3 from Mercury.
Mercury is in the third from Rahu, so count the third from Mercury. It is fourth house. Fourth house. So, the
Can you
bhoga
repeat that? I didn't get that.
from Rahu, the Dasha Lord, the Antardasha Lord, Mercury is in the third house.
Correct.
And from that Mercury, if you count third house again,
1,
that becomes the bhoga during Mercury Dasha.
which is
Mercury Antardasha, which is Aries.
Aries.
So the bhoga is in fourth house from Lagna.
Mm-hmm.
It is in the fourth house from Lagna. So what is the result during this Dasha, this Antardasha? Will she get new power? Not necessarily. What does fourth house stand for? Comfort, happiness, some kind of satisfaction.
It also has vedic lagna, right?
Yes, it has Gharika Lagna. Yes.
So that also counts.
That also counts, yes. So during this Antardasha, experiencing more authority. Becoming the chief minister is one thing, but exercising that power is another thing. Gharika Lagna is basically exercising power. It's not just having power. Gharika is authority, exercising authority, showing your authority, showing your influence. So the bhoga having Gharika Lagna in it, that's a very good point. Bhoga being, having Gharika Lagna in it shows what we experience is that power. I have the power kind of feeling. I have the power. You exercise that power during that Antardasha, during the Mercury Antardasha.
What is PP, that sign there?
Oh, PP is Pranapada Lagna. And that is very unlikely to be correct. Don't worry
So
about it.
not to worry.
Very unlikely to be correct. That changes so fast. Faster than everything else. Now, how will be Ketu Antardasha for her?
7 from Rahu.
It becomes 12 from
Okay, you are looking at the bhoga directly. Okay, where is the bhoga? He is in the 7th from Rahu. Taking 7th from Ketu, the bhoga is in 12th house.
12th house.
So that is Antardasha where there will be some losses. What about Venus Antardasha next?
7.
Losses.
Yeah.
Yeah, there will be some losses. So the next two Antardashas are Antardashas where there will be some losses for her. So she will, for the next, for a few more months, she will probably continue to feel powerful, exercise her power. But after that, there will be some setbacks for the lady. It's not, the picture is not really rosy for her. For the bad karma that she is engaging in, she will experience the results of it during the Antardasha. Another thing, what houses does Mercury own?
Sixth and
No, not
ninth.
Sixth and ninth house. Sixth and ninth house. What is the meaning of sixth house?
Service.
Enemies, enmities. So during Mercury Antardasha, is it possible that she will get new enemies?
Ketu also will be more secretive.
Especially there is Ketu there. The sign contains Ketu, the sixth house contains Ketu. If you have sixth house Ketu, you will have a lot of enemies. And because Mercury is the owner of that sixth house, he can give that result. So in general, she has a lot of enemies, and she can get new enemies during Mercury Antardasha. But Ketu Antardasha, Ketu Venus Antardasha will be even worse.
But because Mercury is retrograde, does it change?
It doesn't change.
But
It
again,
doesn't.
Mercury is also ninth lord, right?
Yes, that is the other point. But Mercury is also the ninth lord. She will get lot of new enemies. So can we say that she is following her dharma?
For
Yes.
D10, he should be Navamsha, we should say Dharma.
Good point. Good point.
It's not related to work.
Yes. Right. So, but as far as her karma is concerned, she is basically what is the dharma as far as karma is concerned? In the Dashamsha, what is the ninth house? What does the ninth house mean?
Doing job with what is supposed to be done.
See, in the Navamsha is the chart it is the chart that is dedicated to dharma. So if you see Navamsha, you see the dharma that is coming to you as a result of who you are, as a result of your abilities. as a result of your, that is basically your inherent dharma, your basic dharma based on who you are. You are a learned Brahmin, for example, let us say. So because of that you have a particular dharma. That dharma is seen from Navamsha. In Dashamsha also 10th house is dharma. And this dharma is the dharma because of your dharma, your work. It's work ethics, exactly. It's basically work ethics. The dharma, the duty is given to you by your boss. That is why I said in the 9th house, in the Dashamsha, 9th house shows your boss, because your boss is who defines your dharma as far as your career is concerned. So 9th house in Dashamsha also shows dharma, but this is not the religious dharma or your inherent dharma, but this is your work dharma. So Mercury, being the 9th lord,
but the ethics and boss defining your dharma don't go together. Ethics are from individual.
Yeah, maybe you are right. More than ethics, basically this is what you have to do at your work. For example, in my case, right, what I have to do at my work, I have to write a lot of code. I have to make sure that a particular codec, MP4 codec works. So that is my dharma. That is my duty as far as my work is concerned. So similarly, Mercury shows upholding some kind of dharma in her public life. And will she do it well or badly? Where is Mercury placed from the 9th house? From the 9th house, even though Mercury is the lord of that house, he is in the 6th house. So what you can conclude is, if the 9th lord is in the 6th from 9, what you can conclude is, either she will not uphold the dharma correctly, or she will uphold the dharma correctly and make enemies in that process. 9th lord in the 6th from 9th means making enemies following your dharma. So honestly, just based on this, we don't have a proof that she is insincerely just doing a conspiracy and making cases against you. It is also possible that she is doing her dharma and just ending up making enemies in that process. Is everybody with me so far? Okay, so let's see. Yes.
Would you see the Ashtavarga points of Mercury or any of the planets when you're deciding the effects the planets are going to give you?
Yes, you can, but let us leave it for now.
Okay,
We haven't done Ashtavarga. You can.
You can.
But that will show how many other planets are cooperating with Mercury. If you want to see how many planets are cooperating with Mercury, then you will see the Ashtavarga. Ashtavarga is not overall strength. Ashtavarga is how much cooperation Mercury is getting from various other planets. We will do Ashtavarga slowly later. That is too advanced for now. So, now you know that she is following some kind of duty in her career and making enemies. That is all you can say from this Dashamsha. Is she doing adharma? Is she doing sin? Is she doing dharma? You can't really say that just based on the Dashamsha. Look at Navamsha. Does Mercury show following dharma or adharma? During Mercury Antardasha, in Rahu Dasha, what is the bhoga as far as Navamsha is concerned? What is the bhoga? From Rahu, Mercury is in the 12th house. From Mercury, 12th house is Virgo, 6th house. Does 6th house show dharma? No, it's not really the house of dharma. It's actually the house of adharma. 6th and 8th houses are houses of evil. So actually looking at Navamsha, in Mercury Antardasha, it is not likely that she will uphold some kind of great dharma, like Hanuman going and fighting with Sri Rama because he gave a word to somebody, or Arjuna fighting with Sri Krishna. This is not that. This is adharma, pure adharma. Now there is another chart called Trinshamsha, D30. This is the chart that shows your evils. This is the chart of your Papa Purusha. There is a Papa Purusha inside every person. Papa means sin, Purusha means person. This is sin person. There is a sin person within each person. That person is who makes you do all your sins. So who are influencing the Lagna here? Rahu and Ketu are there,
And Sun.
and Mercury. Sun is aspecting. Excuse me. And Mercury is the Lord of Lagna. So she is running the Dasha, Mahadasha as a planet in Lagna, and she is running the Antardasha of Lagna Lord. So her Papa Purusha is strong, fully active. This particular Antardasha is fully activating the Papa Purusha within her. So she is very likely to engage in great sins during this time. So using Navamsha and Trimshamsha, And combining with Dashamsa, we can conclude that she is not upholding some great dharma and trying to clean up a great spiritual organization with lot of sadness. That's not what she is doing. She is lying if she says that she is doing that. She is engaged in great papa, the greatest sin of her life. Actually, greatest sin? Maybe not. If you want to see what is the greatest sin, who will actually, greatest sin. Rahu will give Ketu sisters. Ketu is the sixth lord. Out of Rahu and Ketu is the sixth lord in Lagna. So he will show the greatest sin.
How can Rahu and Ketu be in the same house?
They will be in several divisional charts.
In divisional charts it's possible.
Several divisional charts it is possible. So Ketu is sixth lord in Lagna, so he shows the greatest sin that she will do in this particular life. And Rahu will end up giving those results. So it will happen during Rahu Dasha. And it can be either Ketu under Dasha or Mithri under Dasha. Ketu means Rahu under Dasha. Rahu itself or Rahu Mithri. These are the possible under Dasha when the greatest sin of her life comes. And looking at this, even though we consider the possibility of her being correct, it looks very, very, very unlikely based on this chart that she is correct. She is mostly engaging in the greatest adharma of her life. Okay, now let us see the annual chart. What is her annual chart? Because when we look at, like I always say, when you look at the natal chart, Vishwatri works, but it's not perfect. And there will be some perfect dasha for each person, but we are not really that proficient in all these dashas. So we can't really put our finger on the dasha that gives perfect results. On the other hand, if you look at Pravesha and Pravesha, that gives almost perfect results for almost everybody. So let us look at the current year's Pravesha chart. Now, Hora Lord. Who is the Hora Lord? Moon. Moon is the Hora Lord. And he is in the 12th house with Jupiter. What is the dasha that she is running right now? Right now she is running Mars dasha. Actual arrest happened a few days before the Mars dasha started. But right now, the bottom line is, right now, she is running, when all this drama is unfolding, she is running from Mars dasha. Now, if you look at Mars, do you think that Mars shows fulfilling her dharma sincerely or breaking her dharma? What does Mars show in this chart?
Lord of the Sword and the Eighth.
First look at the Rashi chart. Mars is the Lord of third house of stubbornness, 8th house. 8th house shows setbacks, anxieties, tensions, etc. It also shows evils, the sins that you do. And Mars and Rahu are with Venus. Venus is at 7 degrees, Rahu is at 20 degrees, Mars is at 26 degrees. So they are not very close, but Mars and Rahu are quite close. So Mars is a very evil Mars. When Mars is with Rahu, he is reasonably closely conjoined with Rahu. Mars becomes a very evil Mars. So a very evil Mars is conjoining the 9th Lord Venus. 9th house shows dharma. It shows teacher. It shows guru. It shows religion. It shows dharma. And these Mars and Rahu, to rank malefic planets, are afflicting that Venus in the 8th house. Is this good? This is definitely bad. Of course, on the positive side, this could also show fulfilling some, this could also show pursuing occult knowledge. If this chart belongs to an astrologer or an occult person, this may have been a good combination. Mars and Rahu in the 8th house with Venus may have been a good combination.
But wouldn't it be like black magic or something?
It could be, yes. It could be. Especially with the Rahu there. Yes, absolutely. But it could be good for pursuit of occult knowledge with Rahu in the 8th house with Mars and Venus. But here you are talking about a politician, and this is definitely breaking her dharma. So during Mars dasha, she does a sin towards a teacher, towards a religious person. That is what Mars eclipsing Venus shows. Now, does that Mars show some kind of fall for her? Is it possible that Mars will show her fall? Just be honest, not our wishes. What you see in the chart. 8th house, planets in 8th house can show fall. Mars in the 8th house can show a big fall. But he is in own house. Own Trikona. He is giving Sarala Yoga. So, with that Mars, is it possible that she will have a fall?
No.
Not at all. She will be ruthless in this Mahadasha. Until December 10, she will be ruthless, pursue her agenda, be stubborn, and not have to face any negative repercussions of that. Will she have to face the negative repercussions of that?
Mercury, you asking?
Okay, yeah. Let us see her Dashamsha. If you see her Dashamsha, how is the Dashamsha for this year? How is her Dashamsha for this year? Why I am asking you is, a famous astrologer known as K.N. Rao, he made a prediction that Jayalalitha government will fall in December, January. That is his prediction. In December 3rd week or 4th week or January 1st week or 2nd week, he predicted that Jayalalitha government would fall and then Swami Jayendra Saraswati would have a relief.
When you say fall, it's like whether she is going
Government,
to resign or
government breaking.
the central court is dismissing the government.
The government being dismissed.
Or probably because she has
Or
an option
party
to-
breaking into two parts.
Actually, she has an option of bringing elections much earlier. So that could also be a reason, right? No?
That could also be a reason, yeah. But the way he said it, he said she will have a fall. Yeah. Yeah. Do you think that she could have a fall during December, January?
Lagna Lord, Hora Lord, both.
Yeah? Lagna Lord and Hora Lord. Who are
Lord
they?
is moon, right?
Yeah?
And, 12th Lord and
Yeah, 12th Lord. Hora Lord happens to be the 12th Lord. He is in the 6th house. That's good. Viparita Rajoga. That is a good combination.
But I think Mercury and Venus also Parivartana is there, right? You don't know Parivartana is there?
Yes, yes.
So
There is-
it looks good only.
It looks good, yeah. The 5th house is power basically. If you have the 8th Lord or some planet associating with that house, then you would be concerned. The 5th Lord, Jupiter, is in a Kendra, aspecting Lagna. The 5th house has Yogsarka Mars. Mars is a Yogsarka, he is in the 5th house of power. So does it show losing power?
No.
The Lagna Lord is Sun, he is in the 2nd house, not good, not bad. It's a neutral placement. And how much uncertainty do we have here? 5 minutes, 6 minutes, mostly this is right. Even with Sanjayji's time, whether you use my time or Sanjayji's time, you will still get the same Dashamsha in this year's chart. So do you think that it is likely that she will fall from power during this year?
No. Because even I think the 10th Lord is in 11th, I think so more gain.
Yeah, 10th Lord, Venus is in the 11th house.
So it's gain only, so
Yeah.
it's positive.
Yes, it is positive.
so what is the time the other astrologer might have used? That could be it.
K.N. Rao? Oh, I think he is at the same time. There is no controversy in Jayalalitha's chart. Everybody knows that she was born around that time, and because she doesn't hide her chart like Karunanidhi. Karunanidhi hides his chart. He doesn't believe in astrology, but he goes around giving 3 different charts to people, so that people don't know which is his chart. So that he is afraid that people would use his chart to do things against him. But Jayalalitha is not afraid. She would give the correct data to everybody. So everybody has Jayalalitha's correct chart. So K.N. Rao did use the same chart, but it is possible to use the same chart and give different predictions. The techniques used are different, and sometimes you don't even use techniques. You just go by intuition. But he could be correct. As far as Rasi chart is concerned, you have all these planets in the 8th house, and I don't think he uses Sthiti Pravesh. Actually, K.N. Rao uses only Tadika chart, annual Tadika chart. And if you look at, so he thought that Venus is bad. Okay, not a bad. Anyway, let us not analyze why K.N. Rao made that prediction. That is not interesting to us. But what is the prediction of the class? That is important. Do you think that it is unlikely that she will fall? She will have a fall. Her government would fall during this year. Is that?
No, it looks okay.
Yeah, it looks okay.
The next duration also Mercury and Sun. Mercury and
Yeah. Okay, you are talking about the next dasha?
yeah.
Yeah, right. During December 10 to February 4, the time when he predicted, Mercury dasha will run, Mercury is the second and 11th lord in the third, but he has a Parivartana with Venus. And assuming that Ghadika Lagna is correct, he is in Ghadika Lagna, but it may not be correct. But let us leave it. But he is in the third house. So it's not really that bad. We don't really see any bad indications. Let us see 2005. If I show you this chart and ask you, will she have a fall during this year? What will be your answer?
Jupiter.
The Horolord is Jupiter, and in Rasi chart he is the 5th lord, he is in the 11th house, aspecting the 5th house. In Dashamsha,
First Lord is in Lagna. No, sorry.
in Dashamsha he is the 5th lord, Jupiter is the 5th lord, he is debilitated, but he is Vakri.
So it's
Good, yeah.
Good, yeah, it's good.
The 5th lord is debilitated, but retrograde, that is good. Retrogression is bad for 5th lord, but retrogression and debilitation is bad, but retrogression and debilitation is equivalent to exaltation. So the 5th lord Jupiter being in Capricorn is not at all bad, but he is in the Margasthana to 5th, so that is, there is a negative indication, but it's not really. But Lagna lord Sun is in the 10th house, and in Rasi Jupiter is very well placed. So again, during the next year, do you think that she will have a fall from power? I honestly don't feel so. Now let us see 2006.
So, question.
Yes.
What's the, why is it the retrogression and debilitation equivalent to salvation?
That is the rule. I don't know why.
The rule.
Yeah,
It's
the
like
rule.
a double negative, right? Double positive.
Yeah. On the other hand, if a planet is exalted and retrograde, it's equivalent to debilitation. It's Uccabhanga. That's bad. Okay, now let us see 2006 chart.
Saturn. Hora.
Yeah. Who is the Hora Lord?
Saturn.
Saturn is the Hora Lord. In the Rasi chart, he is the 5th and 6th Lord.
In the 11th.
He is in the 11th house. In Dashamsha chart, let us see if we are in the middle. Yes, we are in the middle. In Dashamsha chart,
He's in the second.
Saturn is Yogakaraka, 9th and 10th Lord, but he conjoins Jupiter, 8th Lord.
But again, he's retrograde.
For me?
Does that matter that he's retrograde?
No, not here, it doesn't matter, yeah. If he is exalted or debilitated, it will cause the change. If the planet is in a normal house, then whether he is retrograde or not doesn't really matter. So now, the 5th Lord Mercury, the Lord of the 5th house. 5th house is the house of power. The Lord of the 5th house, Mercury, is in the 6th house. Is that good for maintaining the power?
No.
It's not really good for maintaining the power. And Lagna Lord Venus is in Bharakasthana. And most importantly, in a democracy, the planet who is important for power is masses. Who shows masses? Moon. Where is Moon?
In the
In the
12th.
Samsa? In the 10th house? Sorry, 12th house? Moon is in the 12th house from Lagna. From 5th house of power, Moon is in the 8th house. So,
Either case it's bad.
pardon me?
Both the cases it's bad.
Yeah, both the cases it's bad. And in the, as far as Rasi is concerned, Lagna is eclipsed by Ketu. Ketu is in Lagna. Ketu being in Lagna shows some kind of big setback during that year. So looking at all these things, do you think that there is a decent chance that she will lose power in 2006?
Yeah,
Yes.
some election is going to come.
When is the election?
I think so, somewhere around that time.
Yeah, if there is election after 2006 birthday, she is very likely to lose that election. Actually, I looked at another dasha, which I will not talk about right now. There is a dasha called Sudarsana Chakra dasha. There the indications are much clearer, very, very clear indications of some big setback and huge disappointment for her during 2006. We will do that dasha later.
Actually, that's why she's planning to prepone the election
Yeah,
this year.
yeah.
Because of
That will be a smart move because these 2 years are good for her.
yeah, somewhere
But-
in the March or something she's going to dismiss the government, then start an election.
I see. That is interesting. That is interesting. But just looking at the Vimshatri Dasha, if you just look at the Vimshatri Dasha, until what happened? We are still in natal chart. Okay. We are still in the Pravesh chart. See, until next February, Rahu Mercury is excellent for her. Until next February, nothing can be done. But once Ketu comes, anything is possible. Irrespective of what Tripravesh shows, once Ketu comes, anything is possible. But until next February, I don't see her losing power. But after that, let us see what happens. But what we concluded is, Swami Jayendra Saraswati is innocent. The cases are, this is a conspiracy against him. But my honest feeling is, even though many people may not agree with it, my honest feeling is, there is some grain of some truth there. Somebody was involved in some mischief. Maybe not murder of somebody, but there were some negative developments at the mart, probably without Swamiji knowing about it. His only mistake is letting some bad people come in, letting some Shanis and Rahus come into the mud and influence the direction of the mud. That lapse of judgment is his only mistake. That is my feeling. And there is some small grain of truth there, which was totally blown out of proportion and added a lot of details to make it look worse. And it was converted into a murder. And this is a huge conspiracy by Jayalalitha just for power, making a dent into Karunanidhi's vote bank. Because her fifth house has in the Samsa, Sun is Niriti Samsa. She can do anything for power. And whatever earlier associating with, whatever respect she showed for Shankaracharya in public, for all you know, it could be just to align with BJP, just to make BJP happy. She could have done it. Definitely based on this chart, she is capable of doing that. There is some level of dharma inside her, but when it comes to power, she is very egoistic and very demon-like. That is where
and Karnataka, they are enemies, but this is the only case that they both agree on each other.
Yeah.
They are like sworn enemies.
Yeah. And unfortunately, I don't have Karunanidhi's chart. Actually, I have 3 Karunanidhi's chart, so I better not see any of them. Okay. Now we have a little time. Let us start Buddhu Venkateswara Rao's chart, and we will finish it in the next class.
Whose chart are we doing?
I'll tell you.
Ketu in the annual chart, if it's in the first house, you can just assume that year is not going to be good for that person?
Unless Ketu is 5th Lord or 9th Lord, or unless Ketu is a benefic. Here Ketu is the 3rd Lord. He's a malefic planet. In general, Ketu is a terrible planet to have on your Lagna. Ketu is the planet of dissipating everything. He's the planet of burning everything. If Ketu is in Lagna, there will not be any happiness or peace during that year. It's very inauspicious to have. Unless you are a sadhu who is going towards moksha. He wants to put you on the path of moksha, and it's not pleasant for everybody.
July 7, 1968.
Okay. Yeah. I can't read Kiran's handwriting, that's why. Not here.
July 7th, 1968.
July
7, 1968.
Yeah.
Birth time 6:30 p.m.
Yeah.
Place is Guntur.
India.
The latitude comes to 80 degrees east, 27 minutes.
Yeah. So I'll repeat it for people here. July 7, 1968, 6:30 a.m. a.m. right? p.m. 6:30 p.m. I'll just say it.
19 what? 38.
68.
July 7, 1968, 6:30 p.m. Guntur, India. The longitude is 80 degrees east, 27 minutes. The latitude is 16 degrees 18 minutes north. So this chart belongs to a person in the class, a student in the class. Okay. Now there are some events in his life that he has given. So now we have to verify whether the Navamsa Lagna is correct or not, the Dashamsa Lagna is correct or not. Let's try to look at all the events and see if things make sense. let us see marriage. He was married on, let me actually do one.
February 1994.
One second, I'll just copy the notes. Yeah. Okay. He was married on when? February
19th, 1994.
February 19, 1994. That's when he got married. He gave the time also, even though we don't need it. Yeah, we don't need it.
Wedding night.
Yeah, I also remember my wedding time. Usually people do remember. Okay. So if you look at his dashas, which dasha did he get married in? He got married in Venus dasha. Which antar dasha? Venus itself. Which prachantar dasha? Venus itself. Right? Now, before we go there, a couple of very simple questions. What dasha applies? Is there any special dasha that applies? If Lagna Lord is in the 7th or 7th Lord is in Lagna, we have Vrishabdati Samadasha. Right? And if Lagna is in Vargottama, we have Shatabdik Dasha. If the 10th Lord is in 10th house, we have Chaturasthi Samadasha. And there are a few other dashas, but they are less important. These are the most important conditional dashas. And if the sun is in Lagna, then Shasthayani dasha applies. Does any of those dashas apply here? No. None of those dashas applies in this case. So, let us go to Vimshottari dasha. Is Lagna stronger or moon stronger? If you take moon, there is one planet in Kendra. And if you take Lagna, there are 6 planets in Kendra from Lagna. So, is Lagna stronger or moon stronger? Lagna is stronger. So, let us try Lagna Vimshottari. So, if you look at the Lagna Vimshottari, which dasha did he get married in? He got married in Moon dasha. Okay. Now, which antar dasha did he get married in? He got married in Moon dasha, Venus antar dasha. Is it possible? And how much uncertainty do we have in this? 2 minutes later it will change, 11 minutes earlier it will change. Okay. Now, is this possible? Why? Good.
Because I always feel moon and Venus give romance and marriage and stuff.
So everybody gets married when moon dasha comes?
No, possible, more possible.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
It gets that up.
Okay, good.
And Mars is in 7th house in Navamsha, and Moon is occupying that house.
Mars is in 7th house in Navamsha and moon is in Mars's sign. But that's not logic enough. That's not good enough logic. Anybody else? Is moon capable of giving marriage? Who is capable of giving marriage? Let us work around like that.
Jupiter.
What? Why Venus? Why Venus? Why Venus?
Because it's a natural 7th.
Okay, forget it. Then in this chart, who are the planets? Apart from the Karakas. What is the house for marriage in Navamsha? 7. Who are the planets associated with the 7th house? Who is the Lord? Who is the planet occupying it? Simple. So, Mars can give marriage. Mars dasha is definitely capable of giving marriage. Okay. Who else? Yeah, that's what I wanted to hear. Now, who will give Jupiter's results? Okay. Why?
Both of God.
Okay. So, do you expect marriage in Ketu dasha? Right? Possible. Ketu dasha, Mars dasha are possible. Now, is there anything between Moon and Ketu? Moon and Ketu have a parivartana. So Moon will give Ketu's results, Ketu will give Moon's results. So after these 2 exchanges of results, Moon is certainly capable of giving marriage. And another simple logic is, this is the clincher, but another logic, this doesn't work always, the other logic. That is, he is the dispositor of the 7th Lord. Moon can give marriage not because The Lord of the house where he is in the 7th house, but because he is the Lord of the house where 7th Lord is in. In other words, suppose I have a nice, let us say I have a nice car, and I am staying with somebody's house. Then he can use my car. When I go to some friend's house, I park the car there. He can say, because he is the owner of the house, he can say, give me that car, I want to go for a ride. So I can, if I have a BMW car and if he wants to go for a ride, I will give that car. So moon is the boss. Moon is the ruler of the house where Jupiter is placed in. So Jupiter is the one in charge of getting this person married. So moon can end up giving that result, but moon cannot end up giving master's result. I cannot claim authority and take my owner's car. My owner can take my car. So it's kind of like that. So your logic is you are thinking in the right direction, but slightly wrong. You can think in terms of dispositorship, but it's the reverse. So okay. So moon dasha is certainly capable of giving marriage. What about Venus? In moon dasha, is Venus dasha capable?
Venus is aspecting Mars, 7th house.
Yeah, that is from Lagna. But if you look from the dasha lord moon, Venus is the 7th lord. And like you guys said, he is the Karaka. Venus is anyway the Karaka. And if you look at the Bhoga, in moon dasha, Venus and dasha, where is the Bhoga in Navamsa? Capricorn, which is the 5th house. The Bhoga is falling in the 5th house. If the Bhoga is in 5th house, 9th house, 7th house, Lagna, these important houses, it is basically, they will be auspicious as a result during that time. And now, in the Rashi chart, where is Bhoga? Moon dasha, Venus and dasha, where is the Bhoga? Again in Makra. They are in the same houses. Both of them are Vartman. So, the Bhoga is again in Makra, and that has Upvada. So, Upvada is basically experience during the Rata dasha, at the physical level. So, this is, there is certainly a possibility of getting married in this Rata dasha. On the other hand, I will not go through the logic, but if you change to either Leo or Libra, things are not actually that clear. It is much clearer with the Virgo Navamsa. So mostly his Navamsa Lagna is accurate. So that means the time cannot be moved back by more than 11.5 minutes, and it cannot be moved forward by more than 2 minutes 22 seconds. That's what you know. So that is the window we have. 2.5 minutes, 11.5 minutes. That's the window we have. Now let us go to another chart. Did he give any events relating to foreign journey? I mean coming abroad? Okay, let's go to Chaturthamsa. First of all, is Chaturthamsa on a border? It's not really in a border. 18, 19 minutes and 13 minutes. So we are basically stuck with this Chaturthamsa. So let us leave that. Let us go to Dashamsa. We can still look at when he came abroad and try to make sense of it and learn, but it won't help us fix the time. So to fix the time further, let's go to Dashamsa. Is Dashamsa on a border? Yeah. Well, 6 minutes. So in the backward direction we had 11.5 minute window, right? We can narrow it down to 6 minutes using this. So let us use Dashamsa. Let us verify if this Dashamsa is correct or if it has to be moved backward. Okay. What is the input he gave regarding career? Can somebody read it for me?
Yeah. He joined in a job in NRSK in India in 91.
I won't know what that means, but
Remote sensing agency.
Remote?
National Remote Sensing Agency.
Okay, he joined in a job in a National Remote Sensing Agency in
91.
91. He joined a job in 91.
Like
91 when?
91 September.
In 91 September he joined a job.
Yeah.
Now, just hold that thought, we will come back. Is that possible? If this Dashamsa Lagna was correct, if this Dashamsa chart is correct, does it make sense? Is it possible that during the moon Mercury Antardasha career would start?
It's not Mercury, right? It's Ketu.
No, he is looking at
91. Oh, you're in 91. Okay.
91.
Sure.
Yeah? Mercury is the Lagna Lord. Lagna always shows some beginning, some new beginning, some fresh start. So there was a beginning that was made. It is possible. What kind of career does he have? Because that is more important than timing. The first job may or may not be that important. What kind of career does he have?
Quality control engineering.
He's a quality control engineer, okay.
That's what I know.
Does anybody else know? Did he say anything?
Yeah, most of the time is
Okay. Software QA or hardware QA?
software.
Okay. 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 Now, what are the houses? Yeah, this is detail. What are the houses? What are the houses that show the career? 2, 6 and 10. These are the Artha Trikonas, right? These are the 3 Artha Trikonas. Okay. So which house is stronger here? Where would you see his career from? Second house, 10th house or 6th house? 6th house. The 10th lord is also actually in the 6th house. So Jupiter, Mars and Ketu. These planets together, Mars, Ketu and Jupiter, they will show his career. So what kind of career is possible? Definitely service, yeah, that is clear. He is not a business person, he is a service person. But what kind of service? Is it engineering? Is it teaching? Mars, Mercury is analytical, software engineering kind of engineering. For hardware engineers, it is Mars, Rahu, Ketu. These are the planets, the abstract planets. So the 2 planets there are Mars and Ketu. So is hardware possible? Hardware engineering? It's very possible.
Ketu related with hardware?
Pardon me?
How is Ketu related with hardware?
Ketu is not really related with hardware. Mars is related with engines, making engines. And Ketu is related with mathematics, logic, etc. So this is, had it been Mars or Mars and Rahu, then it would have been engineering, machines, etc. But with Ketu, it is lot of analysis, logic, thinking, etc. And Jupiter. Is Jupiter strong there or Mars strong there? Who is stronger? Mars and Ketu are the strongest planets there. It's tough to judge who is stronger. Both Mars and Ketu are stronger. So that's why I asked whether he was, when you said quality controller, I was wondering if he was more in the software domain or in the hardware domain. Software is not impossible, but with these planets, Ketu would show more like software, but Mars would show more like hardware. And the sign involved is Scorpio. It's more likely that he will be dealing with hardware and systems that have hardware and software also, not just pure software. Whenever you see Mars, it is some kind of engineering. If you see Mars and Rahu or Mars and Ketu, it is electronics. Some kind of electronics is involved. Electronics are some abstract, modern kind of engineering, not putting a wheel, putting a screw kind of engineering. That is Mars. But if Mars is coming under the influence of Rahu or Ketu, it is something modern, something abstract, something that transcends. So electronics, because when you talk about electronics engineering, you are talking about a silicon, in the chip there is silicon, let us say, or you are talking about a circuit. These are more at the abstract level. There is a lot of abstraction, lot of logic involved there in the electronics. And for all you know, 200 years later, Mars and Rahu may show some other kind of engineering that we don't know yet. But bottom line is, in today's charts, when I see Mars and Rahu or Mars and Ketu, typically I suspect some electronics related things. Now, are there any other events that he gave? And you see, before actually let me finish the thought. You see couple of planets in the 6th house in Nirati Samsha. There are a couple of planets in Nirati Samsha. Jupiter, Mars and Ketu. So, Mars, Jupiter and Ketu. Mars is in Vayu. Vayu shows strengthening. What Mars shows is, Mars in Vayu Amsha shows strengthening something. That is the focus of Mars. Some effort which strengthens something. But Jupiter and Ketu are Nirati Samsha. So what would you say based on that? What would you say based on that?
Do some illegal.
He's not here right now, but he will listen to it.
No, he will do to survival. He will do something for survival.
Well, that's not what I wanted to hear. Niriti, pardon me? Niriti is basically more like Rahu. It can be demon-like things, it can be illegal things, it can be outlawed things, but at the same time, it can be giving suffering. It can be giving suffering to people. It can also be transcending boundaries and coming up with something really very novel and very new. I don't know if it applies in this case, but having two planets in the 6th house in Niriti Samsa very strongly suggests that, unfortunately he is not here to give feedback, then we can, that will be more helpful. But usually the difference between a software controller, a control engineer, quality controller with planets in Yama Samsa and planets in Niriti Samsa is, if planets are in Yama Samsa, he is just passionately following his duties. He doesn't care that there are bugs. But if Niriti is there, he takes pleasure in finding bugs. He is not impassionately finding bugs. I don't know if it applies in this case.
Or it can be a rebellion also, right?
There can be some rebellion.
He is not
next
obeying
also.
his boss and he comes up with his own ideas and best.
Absolutely. Niriti shows rebellion. Niriti shows not obeying authority and having some rebellious idea. So that is one possibility. The other possibility is also having sadistic pleasures. Finding bugs. Pardon me?
Paying to his subordinates.
Yeah, paying to subordinates are even equal. Paying to engineers, the design engineers. So there are so many different possibilities that you can get from Niriti. But the interesting thing is the planets are not in Agni Samsya. So it doesn't show. The same Mars and Ketu, had they been in Agni Samsya, it would definitely have been an engineer who makes things. But because it is Niriti Samsya, he is somebody who breaks things, not makes things. Not Agni. Now,
That will prove he's in QA.
pardon me?
That can show he's in
That can
QA.
show he is in QA. But it could also, honestly, if I didn't know this person, the planet being Mars and Ketu is headless, terrorist. Mars is a soldier, and they are in the 6th house, and they are in Niriti Samsya. This could very well be the chart of somebody who's in the underground, who's a foot soldier in the mafia. Definitely that is possible. Pardon me? I have nothing against him. You guys, those who have something against him can say this. But this is the important thing. If you just look at one chart in isolation, you don't get the complete picture. You have to see everything using Desha, Kala, Patra. There are three things known as Desha, Kala, Patra. Desha is the place where the person is. Kala is the age in which the person lives, the times in which the person lives. Patra is the class of the person. What class he belongs to? What is his? What is the background basically? What is his family background, the class background? So based on those, certain things are ruled out, and only certain things are possible. So you have to look at all those things when you judge a chart. Especially if you look at only Dashansha, you don't get the full picture. If you look at only Trimshansha, you don't get full picture. If you combine all the charts, then you get a very good picture of who the person is. Unless you know what kind of dharma the person has, how can you judge what Mars and Ketu in Niriti Samsya in the 6th house in Dasamsya show? They could show a foot soldier in the mafia. They could show one of those bhais in Bombay. Or they could show somebody who is an engineer who likes breaking things and who likes rebelling against the norm. How do you know which is true? Both are possible. As a matter of fact, not only those two, there are at least 5 or 6 different possibilities that you can come up with for the same Mars and Ketu. In one chart, one may be true. In another chart, another thing may be true. So you have to look at other charts, then only you can put that Dashansha in perspective. What is the kind of dharma that this person has? For example, look at his dharmamsha. Look at his navamsha. If you look at his navamsha, the 9th Lord Venus is in 10th house, is in a Kendra. So overall, is this somebody who is dharmic? The 9th Lord is not in 8th house, for example. This is somebody who is dharmic, and the Lagna Lord Mercury, he is in 2nd house. And for Mercury, 2nd house is a good placement. Basically, you don't see any combinations that show you that this is somebody who is adharmic. Is that right? Almost. almost. So this person is basically a dharmic person. And look at Tripshamsha, the chart of evils, the chart of sins. And if you look at this chart, who is the we don't really know how to see this chart yet. We only know how to time. For example, the worst sin of his life is likely to come in which dasha? Sun dasha. Pardon me?
Anything in Lagna you say?
Yeah. This Lagna is not him. It is the Purusha in him.
But what happens if there is no planet?
The Lord, the planet aspecting it. So that is the negative, the black portion of it. There is symbolically in some of the tantras, Purusha is represented as a black idol. He is made of either sand or certain materials are made for making Purusha, and there are some tantras done with him. So this is basically the black thing that is inside you, and these are the qualities of that person, that Purusha. But let us leave it. But I can say that he's not really a very evil person based on this. And if you look at his Shashtamsha, look at the ninth lord. If you want to see what is the kind of dharma one is carrying from the past life, if you want one measure of how dharmic a person is, that is the ninth lord of Shashtamsha. So if you look at the ninth lord of Rasi chart, who is it?
Sun.
Leo is the ninth house, the lord is sun. And which Shashtamsha does he occupy?
First house.
Saumya. So that he is a dharmic person, and also when following dharma he is very gentle. Saumya means very gentle, soft. So he is a very softy. He is not very harsh. So overall you know that this is not somebody who would be killing people, going and killing people and collecting supari from all the businessmen. This is not a mafia person. Even though that is possible just based on the Samsung.
I didn't get that.
Get what?
This
Okay, go to basics,
D60.
Amsha rulers, D60.
But why are you seeing that for D60 and you're
D60 is overall karma.
you
And
can
if you-
apply the Amsa rulers to the D60?
If you look at the D60 Amsha ruler of the ninth lord of Rasi chart, you know what kind of dharma somebody follows.
Ninth lord of the natal chart, you see the D60 Amsa.
Yes. That will show what kind of dharma the person will follow in his life. What kind of dharma and how he follows dharma. More importantly, how he follows dharma.
Amsha Diti of Amrita would be what?
Excellent. Amrita is nectar.
Ninth lord.
So that is an excellent Amsha. If you see somebody with ninth lord in Amrita Shashtamsha, fall at his feet. Be very nice to that person. He's a great person. I'm just curious.
We shouldn't be looking at anything in the D60 unless we are very sure about the timing.
No. I'm not looking at D60 Lagna here. I'm not looking at the houses in D60. If I do that, then I need to be sure of the time. I'm just looking at the Amsha Lord of Sun, who is the ninth lord in Rasi chart. See, even if time changes a little bit, Sun will still be
Still be in the same set. Okay.
Leo. And if you look at the longitude, Shashtamsha is 30 minutes. So Sun is between 22 degrees 3 minutes and 22 degrees 30 minutes. So even if time changes by 10 minutes, he will still be there. But yeah, Boli Lagna makes sense. But if you see that the Sun is at 22 degree 1 minute in a chart, it could be careful because there can be a small difference in the Ainamsa. Our Ainamsa may not be perfect, so it could be the previous Shashtamsha. So if the planet involved is on a border of half degree quanta, if you divide the zodiac into half degree quanta, he is at the border of a quantum, half degree quantum, then be careful. Otherwise you don't have to worry about it.
What does Soumya stand for?
Saumya means flower-like. Literally it is basically Suma means flower, Saumya means flowering. So very soft, very gentle, very tender. So that is the nature of dharma he follows. And that is how he follows his dharma. Let us for example see K.N. Rao, the astrologer that we mentioned earlier. What is the kind of dharma he follows and how does he follow the dharma? Look at the ninth lord, Mercury. What Amsa is he in? Komala Shashtamsha. Komala means Delicate. Saura means delicate. So, do you think he is an adharmic person or dharmic person? He is a very dharmic person. There is no doubt about it. He is a very spiritual person. He is very outspoken. Some people don't like him, and he is very research oriented and comes up with his own research and junks some of the teachings of Parashara, and we don't like him for it. But he is a very spiritual person, very dharmic person. Look at Jayalalitha. What is her dharma? Who is the ninth lord? Ninth house has 2 planets, right?
Yeah.
The ninth house has 2 planets. And who is stronger?
Mercury.
Pardon me?
Mercury is Lagna Ram.
No, I am talking about the ninth lord of Rasi chart. Who is the ninth lord of Rasi chart?
Saturn.
Saturn.
Saturn and Rahu. There are two lords.
Yeah,
Don't
Saturn,
forget.
Rahu, yeah.
There are 2 lords.
Yeah.
So what are the amshas of them?
Maya.
Maya. Saturn is in Maya amsha and Rahu is in Pravina amsha. So what is her dharma in society? Is it a good dharma? What does Maya mean?
Maya is basically like some kind of a deceit.
Deceit, illusion. So her dharma is to spread illusion, to be in illusion, to thrive in illusion. Her dharma is that of the sense of dharma that she brings is that of deceit, illusion, and also abilities. Pravina means abilities. So to be the number one in anything. Pardon me? Expert. So whatever she does, she wants to excel in that, and she wants to, if necessary, deceive people and be deceived. That is her dharma. She is not here to spread religiousness. She is here to spread illusion. That is her dharma. That is what her karma. That is the karma that she carries from the past life. That is what her karma is. That is who she is.
What does Kantaka stand for?
Kantaka literally means thorn. It's not a good dharma. Yeah, Venus is excellent. Amrita Shashtamsha. That is the blessing, greatest blessing. Ninth class Shashtamsha is most important, but I told you earlier that we can look at the Shashtamsha of various planets, various house lords, planets in various houses, to see what kind of karma they are carrying. So even if you see a nice Yogakarka in the 10th house in the Samsha, the person may not have a good career if the karma being carried from past lives by the planet is bad. Here, look at Venus. Venus is in the 10th house in Rasi, and I don't know if you remember, but in Dashamsha, where is that Venus? He is the 10th lord. So he is the important, and also the 5th lord. So Venus is the important planet for her career, and he is in Amrita Shashtamsha. So in her career, she will get a lot of nice opportunities. Things will happen so easily for her. Basically, Amrita means deathless. So even if her career dies, it will be reborn again. So that is the kind of karma that her Venus is carrying from the past, which is bad news for her enemies. But she probably did something good in her past life to get this.
What if you have Kulanasa?
That's bad. Kulanasa means destroying your family, destroying your lineage, destroying your tradition. It's a bad amsa. Okay, let us go back to Venkateshwar Rao. Okay, so let us say Dashamsha looks right. Are there any, let us see one more event and we will call it day. Today we will continue next week. Let us see one more event. Is there any other event that he gave relating to career?
He did his ME, stopped it, and came for work.
Okay, for that we need,
Went back.
for ME, for his Master of Engineering, we need D24, Siddhamsa. We will go into it tomorrow, next class. For now, let us focus on Dashamsa and see if there is an event.
Any promotion?
Anything like promotion or change of job.
He went abroad to West Germany in '93,
Yeah?
and then after coming back from that visit, he quit the job and joined the studies. Then once again he took job in August 19.
Okay, in 1993 he went abroad on job. Pardon me? Stop. I don't, battery. Yeah, mine is also battery is over.
Which Amsa is this for, Rashi or D10?
For me?
This Amsha chart.
Yeah, this is for everything. This
This is the
D60,
basic.
this is the basic thing, which is the foundation of everything else.
This is D60.
Yeah. These amshas that we are talking about, for example, the ninth lord being in Saumyamsa, sun being in Saumyamsa, these amshas are D60 amshas. So that is the karma carried by that planet.
He changed his job.
Okay, let us see we were using Vimshyoti Dasha started from Lagna, right? So let us continue to do that. In 93, he went abroad on job. And then when he came back, he basically stopped his job. He stopped working,
Yeah.
and what did he do? He started
doing ME.
He started doing, okay. He went into study. Now, is that possible with this Dasamsa? When in 93 did he go?
March to June.
Okay, good. So that is Venus. So Moon, Venus, Antardasha. This Antardasha took him abroad and also took him into higher studies.
Yeah.
Higher studies relating to career, but higher studies, which need a break in the career. Is that possible? Which house is Venus in?
Ninth house.
Venus is in the ninth house. Yeah. And what does ninth house show?
Travel abroad.
That is one of the indications. Ninth house shows traveling abroad. But if you see Chaturthamsa, it will become clearer. In Dashamsa, it can show traveling abroad on job. The ninth house in D10 can show traveling abroad on job. And similarly, what shows masters? What shows higher education? Which house shows higher education?
Not.
In D24, yes.
But you're a D10 then.
I know. I'm asking you. Which house shows higher education?
Second from Lagna.
Yes.
Just fourth is primary education. From
Yeah.
there again, have to go another 4 houses.
Right.
Then for that graduation, then again 4 houses.
Okay. So did he have bachelor's and then did he have master's?
No, the
No,
master's
before he joined his job, he had bachelor's, like AMIED.
Yeah.
And then he was in the job and then went for engineering. ME.
Okay. So he went for
post graduation within that.
Post-graduation
Yeah.
in between working.
okay. So what we can say is, see in Moon Dasha, Moon is in the ninth house in Siddhamsa. Assuming that this Siddhamsa is correct, 2 minutes. Assuming that this Siddhamsa is correct, doing bachelor studies in Moon Dasha, does it make sense? First answer that. Is it possible that he would do bachelor studies in Moon Dasha? What is the house for bachelor studies?
Fourth is a primary school.
Fourth is the preliminary education, and bachelor's where you are focusing on a particular subject, that is ninth house, and then master's, further specialization in a particular thing is second house. Fourth, ninth and second. These are the 3 houses of education. Fourth house is general education, like up to maybe, it varies from one place to another place, but typically up to the 12th grade. Until you start. This is only in D24.
Mars is possible. Sorry, Moon is possible.
So Moon Dasha, doing bachelor studies is quite possible. But in Venus Dasha, doing masters, does it make a lot of sense here? It doesn't, right? Yeah, when it doesn't, I wanted to say it doesn't. We'll figure out why in the next class. But let us agree that it doesn't make sense with this Siddhamsa. Yes. But what will Venus, let me finish the thought and I'll take your question. What does Venus show in this D24? What does Venus show in this D24? What house is he occupying? What is the 7th house? What does it show? Strong desire. 7th Lord in the 7th house means a strong desire. So
Respect
Venus,
education.
pardon me?
Desire with respect to education.
Desire with respect to education, absolutely. So, one thing you can say is, once Venus Antardasha comes, there will be a strong desire to learn, strong desire that he should learn something, do some course, etc. So that is what you can see. Whether he starts masters or not, whether he finishes that or not, that is tough to see. We'll go into it in the next class. But what you can say is, in Venus Dasha, if he is already working and if he breaks that work and if he goes back to studies in Venus Dasha, it makes perfect sense. And secondly, another thing that you should remember is, in D10, the ninth house is the house of Dharma, right? The knowledge that you have, the degree that you have also decides your Dharma. So ninth house also shows education relating to profession. The ninth house in D10 shows travel, long travel, foreign travel relating to education, relating to career. It also shows education, higher education or specialized learning relating to your career. So if you see a planet in the ninth house in D10, the Antardasha or Dasha of that planet can give some special education. But it has to be seen in the Siddhamsa. So that we'll see in the next class. But what we concluded is, from Dashamsa there is a chance of doing some learning to enhance his profession. That is possible during that Antardasha. And based on Siddhamsa, a strong desire to learn during that period is very clearly visible. But why he did masters and why in a particular subject? What subject did he study?
Digital.
Okay, something. So why he studied that particular subject during that particular Antardasha, we will try to do it in the next class. So with that we will conclude for today. We will meet next Sunday, same time, same place.
I have a suggestion.
Yes.
Since the ones who have our program and
Yeah.
we are kind of trying to keep pace with what you're doing,
Yeah.
is it possible that either at the beginning or maybe a week before we get the timings of the charts we're going to look at?
I can't really decide what chart I'm going to see. I come and whatever I feel like I'll
Okay.
open the chart. So I can't make it that structured.
Okay.
And as a matter of fact, you can just look here. Whatever you want, if you ask me, I can put it here. You don't even have to get your computer. And if you get your computer, I will say the data so you can enter the data then. Unfortunately, I can't do that. I can't send the data ahead. Sometimes I plan to do a particular chart, but then I want to jump into another chart to show something. I can't really plan it. I don't have that much time. Okay, so with that we'll conclude for today. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
How do you clear these aspects? Aspects are not very clear.
Ideally, if you click again, it should go away.
So, is any man not about
I have to look at, I have to debug that.
Can I do it now or is coming back?
What are colors right now?
1 second.
The Alpha ruler for the state of ninth law.